What's going on, YouTube? It's Sensei, the place to be. Children, Mr. Andy, back to give you guys another Raw review. So first off, I want to start off and say I apologize for last week. So last week, the Raw, WrestleMania was a huge success. It was a great weekend. We did a live stream and everything. And I appreciate all y'all guys coming out for the live stream. It was really, really good. And then I was like, well, it's the Raw after WrestleMania. When I was watching it, I was sitting there thinking like, God, this is bad. This got to be one of the worst Raw after Manias there was. And I kind of tuned out of it and then came back to see Brock turn on Cody. And I was just like, I was already mad of the Cody finish, which I will talk about on the late podcast that we're going to have. And I did not review it. And I was like, well, maybe I should, because the Raw after Mania. And then all of a sudden, come Tuesday, my father got sick, because I am a caretaker also. So my father got sick. I had to take care of him because there's a stomach bug going around here, especially up here in the tri-state area where we're at, and it got me. And I was like, so there was no AEW, there was no NXT, there was no Smackdown. I saw them, but there was no energy, and I was too sick to record any of them, especially be on camera. So, and like, the stomach pain, I couldn't even sit up. I was just bent over. So I was like, you know what? We'll start fresh. We'll start on Monday. We'll talk about Raw. We'll give a quick recap of it. But that's where I was. So, also, the podcasts are behind. Now, tonight, we plan on recording the No Gimmicks Needed Wrestling podcast, which the snippets in the podcast should be up hopefully tomorrow. And then Nerdgasm, we were supposed to do that last week, and I got sick. So that got pushed back also, because a lot to talk about there in Nerdgasm as well. So please be patient for all that stuff that we're going to talk about. Hopefully, that I don't know the concrete date for that this week, but the rest of the podcast we're recording tonight. So right now, we're starting off with Raw. So I'm not going to give a true breakdown of match part by match like I did with the PLEs, as they call them, which I think I'll say that for that, but this is gonna be more of a recap. So they had traveling. It was in Seattle, and there was traveling issues going on with the roster. So 50% of the roster was there, and Corey Graves mentioned tonight on Raw that it was either going stars were not going to be here, or they were going to be late getting here. So we didn't have a lot of roster, which caused a lot of rewrites, but also Vince McMahon was not there tonight. So it's just like the teacher isn't here. Okay. So there's the rewrites. I have to say this. Overall, Raw, was this a great show of Raw? No. Was it a good show of Raw? Not really. Was it better than last week's Raw? Yes. Okay. So I'm not trying to get into the camp that Vince did this show is terrible. Triple H did this show is great. Triple H has done shows that have not been great. Vince has done shows that have been great. But that hasn't been within the past decade. But I'm just saying it's a possibility. So that show last week sucked with Vince doing all them rewrites. But now this show was more, match oriented and things like that, which I liked about it. And like I said, it wasn't great, but it was just better than last week. So it was more of a breath of fresh air, to say the least. They kick off the show with Rey Mysterio. Got the LWO t-shirt. I like how they're bringing the LWO back, because I was a big fan of LWO back in WCW. So he talks about how the Hall of Fame, and he had the Hall of Fame and everything was good. He had to fight his son. Dom comes out there and talks about, he's still a deadbeat, and then, he got his real family. And then Ray was like, well, if you want to do this again, we can do it again. But Dom like, no, I got somebody to fight you. It's going to be Finn Balor. I don't know if Finn Balor was part of the plan. I seriously doubt Finn Balor was part of the plan, but we start off with Rey Mysterio versus Finn Balor, which ends up being a pretty decent matchup, because, these two guys, it's amazing. Finn Balor got the staples in his head and did that Hell in a Cell match, and then 2 weeks later, he's back on TV. I'm like, hey, look, shout out to him, because that was brutal if y'all didn't see that Hell in a Cell match that he had. So then, backstage, Lita got attacked, and now she's out against Raquel and Liv for the tag team championships, and then Becky suspected that Liv and Raquel had something to do with it, but they didn't, because we knew who had something to do with it, right? So then all of a sudden, Becky says, well, Trish is going to be the partner, and they're going to defend the titles. This match sucked, and here's the problem with that, because I think all the women in here are individually good. Liv, Raquel, Trish, and Becky. But I think that they were trying to make this match like really a big type of deal, but it just wasn't coming off. I think people was doing miscues, things that look good. A lot of Becky's offense. Look, and once again, I'll be on top of this hill, down this hill, but I was not a big fan of Becky's. I hate her manhandle slam. It looks terrible, and it just her leg drops just look terrible. Like I'm just not a big fan of that. But was it Raquel rolls up Trish, and she gets the pinfall on Trish, and or no, Liv, excuse me, rolls up Trish, and it gets the win. So they are the new tag team champions, Raquel and Liv Morgan. So we finally got the belt on. We got a belt on Raquel, and now Trish sitting in the ring. Becky goes over there to help her up and everything, and you can see this a mile away. Okay, you can really see this a mile away, and then Trish turns on Becky. But the problem is, like, if you're going to go heel, I understand, you got to be safe and you don't want to really hurt the workers and things like that. But here's the thing. Trish, you got to lay that in. Because even the post-match beatdown was just terrible. And I was like, she barely hit her. Becky had to go down. I mean, she gave her a chick kick, which looked better. But I was just like, it just... You lay that in when you gonna go heel like you. These wrestlers out here would rather make it look good than make it look like that, and everything just came off. Ugh. But a program with Trish and Becky going into SummerSlam, I think will be really good, especially when we got the Saudi Arabia shows this month, Money in the Bank in June, I believe, Money in the Bank in June or July, I believe it is, and then SummerSlam. June, I forgot what June. Maybe June is. I don't know. I don't. Both of the Saudi Arabia shows was in May. So, oh no, they may be in June because Backlash is in May. So, y'all get what I'm saying, basically, right? So, Byron Saxton tried to ask Trish like why did you do what you did? And we gotta wait till next week to hear about what's happening. Paul Heyman gives a promo talking about how Kevin Owens is stupider than Riddle and Sammy, and now they're not here. So Kevin Owens has to deal with Solo Sikoa again by himself. I'll get to my thoughts about how I feel about that at towards the end. Dakota Kai and Io Sky are in the backstage. You see Bayley come out of Adam Pearce's locker room, and Bayley's talking about how she was going to get a title shot, and how we can get that Damage Control back on track because they didn't want to break up. But then Io's just like, no. And Dakota's like, well, what about us? So then Bayley goes back in there to talk to Adam Pearce to see what basically what he can do. Next up, we get Bobby Lashley versus Bronson Reed, which is one of my favorite matches of the night. Thick boy, two C's, no K. I'm a fan of Bronson Reed and definitely a fan of Bobby Lashley. Bobby Lashley was over in this match, especially when you have a Seattle crowd that was kind of quiet for a lot of this show, especially that women's tag match. They came alive for Bobby, especially when Bobby gave Bronson Reed like a Ron Simmons style spine buster. He tries to hook on the Hurt Lock, but then they both were outside the ring. And then Bobby tries to get Bronson Reed on his shoulders, but Bronson gets off, push him into the ring post and get a double count out. The fans booed double count outs because double count outs suck, okay? But then they kept fighting, and then also, everybody had to come out there from Gregory Helms and all them to go break them up. So I like this rivalry I like this matchup between Bronson Reed and Bobby Lashley. Maybe they run it back at Backlash. But like I said, two big guys brawling out and going at it. King Kong Godzilla, if you want to say it at least. However, Bronson Reed looked gassed at the end of this match. Like, he looked exasperated. And I was just like, is it because he has had a competitive match? Is it because he's just doing the squash matches? Maybe because it's Bobby? Like, I don't know. Because we've seen Bronson Reed go at it in long matches. And when I say long, I mean like 15, 20-minute matches in NXT against Gargano or against Swerve or stuff like that. So it's not like that we can't see that happen. All right, it's time for Cody Rhodes. Cody Rhodes is going to speak about what happened last week with Brock Lesnar. So Cody Rhodes comes down, nice white suit, holding the ribs, selling the injury and everything. But he comes down there and he's so Seattle, what you want to talk about? And Rhodes talk about something, under WrestleMania, under the biggest lights and everything, that he lost. And I like that he didn't always keep blaming, like, the numbers were against me and Roman cheated. He lost. That he's sorry that he lost. He let the fans down. That that he didn't win. He said he didn't calculate not just for Roman, but the lengths that Roman would go. He just apologized for losing. So he said, but Cody, he kept hearing two things that that he wanted to hear, but he ended up hearing them anyway. And then one of them was from his friend Matt. What Matt we talk about? We don't know, or do we know? So to be in the main event of WrestleMania is a win itself, which in a way it is. And they say in this point in his career, do wins and losses matter? Cody says, of course it does. The only ones who say they don't are Hall of Famers, people who have finished their stories. Okay, that could also be a dig at Road Dogg and X-Pac for ones who say wins and losses just really don't matter. But he said the other thing that someone was saying was Mr. Heyman says if he ever was to challenge for a championship again, he has to earn it. And then this is the thing I liked about Cody. Cody was just like earn it because I've been seeing a lot of this argument about Cody hasn't lost a match since coming back, and he needs to really like earn and build himself back up for the championship. Or to win the title, he hasn't lost enough. And we're going to address that on the podcast later. But like he was saying in this promo, do people forget that Cody was here before? Cody came out, and teamed with Hardcore Holly before going with Legacy and Ted DiBiase Jr. He was in, high mid-card spots feuding with DX. You know what I'm saying? This, in them Hell in the Cell matches at, was it Breaking Point or wherever they had, their match at, in their submission match. He had a huge tag team rivalry up in 2009. Then he did the whole dashing Cody Rhodes thing. That thing didn't work out. Then he went to the whole, rest his face, so he went to that mask broken, undashing Cody Rhodes. He went to Stardust and that ran its course because that was stupid in itself. And then he left and went. Started a company, like I said, became an EVP, and then started a company, got over in that company, and then came back. And a lot of people can't go out there and do that. He came back, so he talked about some, adversity. Like, I gotta face adversity. He talked about some, I am that, okay? And so I should go in there and be rewarded for that. And go in there, and he should have won a championship, but I'm just saying. Except, but now, in his story, is unfinished. There's a new wrinkle, and that wrinkle is Brock Lesnar. He said, it was more embarrassing to be laid out around 8,000 people and had a rubber chicken next to his head, and now we got with 2 times the next day, and it's also getting beat up by the Beast. So Cody tells him, he says, look, Brock. I heard that Brock was unhappy about his position on the card of opening the show, which I'm like, Corey Graves tried to be like, hey, I don't think that's all of it. That's it. Because you got to. Because that sounds so lazy and bullshit. Because here's the thing. If you want to make sense, if Cody had won the titles, then Brock could come after Cody for the championship because he's not allowed to challenge Roman after he lost at SummerSlam. But now saying Brock was mad at his position on the card, what? He's mad because him and Omos wasn't the main event? Where Brock Lesnar has openly said that if he ain't closing, he need to open so he get the hell up out of there. So it would make no sense. I hope they add some more to it. But make a long story short, Cody says that when Brock Lesnar looks in the mirror, he's not going to be seeing the Beast or the Conqueror. He's going to be seeing a victim. Cody's victim. So he challenges to a match at WrestleMania Backlash. It still says Backlash online. I think Cody misspoke, but I'm really hoping we're not going back to WrestleMania Backlash. So next week, Brock is going to come and respond to Cody. The Usos take on Alpha Academy. I thought it was a pretty good match, especially got good at towards the end because people was really feeling Chad Gable because why wouldn't you? Of course, everything like that. But the Usos get the win after they hit the 1D on Gable. Where is it going with that? It's kind of like we're trading water right now until you figure out what's going to be going on. Triple threat match: Io Sky take on Io Sky taking on Piper Niven, taking on Mia Yim. So people was kind of dead for this matchup, but they kind of enjoyed Io's offense because these women have not been built up the right way like they should have been. And I feel bad for Mia Yim because Mia Yim is one of my favorites. Okay, and I like how she had like the camo pants. So I'm like, you know what? Drop this Meechin shit. Get away from the OC because right now, Gals and Anderson and Mia have been almost non-existent since AJ went down. I think everybody just try to trade war until AJ comes back. We don't need to. Mia Yim can go back to being a blazing baddie, okay, and then go ahead and then just wreak havoc. And Mia Yim could be one of your top women. She's really talented, and I'm like, right now, everybody was just kind of like dead for this matchup. Io Sky wins with a moonsault on the top rope into, like, I think it was on the Niven and Meechin, but Mia Yim didn't get all of it, but still Io Sky covers her. So she wins. It was supposed to be 2 triple threat matches last week, and the winners will probably face this week, so they can figure out who's going to face Bianca Belair maybe at Backlash. But Io Sky versus Bianca Belair next week should be a good match. They had one already, but still, it should be a good match. I don't think they're going to just give the title to Io Sky at all, not yet. But I did try to build somebody up to take it from Bianca. Kevin Owens taking on Solo Sikoa with the Usos, which is nothing new. I mean, they still have decent matches, but towards the end, distractions happen. Solo Sikoa hits Kevin Owens with the Samoa Spike. They start jumping him, but in the back we see Riddle and Sammy Lily running from the parking lot. They must have ran all the way from the airport, running all the way up down to Kevin Owens, and they come to help him out to even up the odds. So I think at Backlash it may be a 6-man tag between Owens, Zayn, and Riddle going up against the Bloodline that way. I think that make the most sense, unless they want to do Riddle and Solo Sikoa in a solo match, in the singles match, but they have not alluded to I mean, we know Solo took out Riddle, but they didn't, they haven't been building up like Riddle's come back for just revenge on Solo. So I think that's the way it's going to go at Backlash, which still could be a good matchup. But if anybody has played 2K23 and played GM mode, like, I'm in season 4 of GM mode right now. I'm really enjoying it way more than I was in 2K22. I didn't even get past the first year in 2K22. Excuse me. But when you're done a level 4 rivalry, it's like rivalry is on cooldown, and then you try to force that rivalry, or you keep having them do matches that doesn't finish on a PLE, it goes stale. This is what this feels like, okay? Up to the point where it's like, okay, they beat the Usos, and it's like, okay, we know they necessarily ended the Bloodline, but there's no Roman there. So right now we tread water, and how many times we go get Solo versus Kevin Owens or Solo versus Zayn, or all this kind of stuff it's in cool down form right now. It's getting stale a little bit, and they gotta try to do something to kind of like liven this thing up. And I'm hoping that's what the draft is going to do. So the draft will be coming in about a month. So like May 8th, I think it's the show where the draft's going to start. So that's when I think things supposed to be, getting better. But right now, that was Raw. So Raw for me for this show compared to last week's show gets a thumbs up. Okay, but any other day when we compare to some good Raws, it's not even that great of a Raw. But I'm saying, but compared to what we got for that WrestleMania Monday Raw, thumbs up show for Raw. So post in the comments down below how'd you guys enjoy Raw. Hit the like button if you guys enjoyed my review. Hit the subscribe button for more wrestling reviews and WWE reviews, especially our podcast that should be up, like I said, tomorrow morning, along with the snippets being up tomorrow. So make sure you subscribe for all that. So once again, it's NC the place to be. Children, Mr. Andy, and the Nerd Coalition is out.